Hello guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for yet another AC Milan news recap, recapping the latest news and rumors going on at the club during this past week. Lots of news to cover, of course, and I'll be getting straight to it. Probably the biggest and best news that we received this week is the appointment of Gennaro Gattuso as the Primavera coach for next season. Now, he has actually signed a 2-year contract with the Primavera squad earlier this week, and I have to say, the news was kind of unexpected. I wasn't really expecting Gattuso to be named the coach out of nowhere like that. But I have to say, I'm very pleased with the decision from the management and the staff, because Gattuso is definitely a man, like we all know, that brings value to wherever he goes. Now, I'm not just saying that for Milan, but even the past teams that he has coached, he has brought some sort of emphasis, his own style of doing things that is very important to do and to have. So, like I mentioned a few weeks ago when I said a guy like Gattuso would be amazing to have in the first team, not even as an assistant coach, but just there to be someone of presence, that is exactly what I was saying about Gattuso. And honestly speaking, this is probably the best news that the Primavera squad could have, to be coached by a man that has such experience, not only with football or culture, but just life in general. You could definitely teach these kids a lot of values, not only playing for the Primavera squad, but also when they do get promoted to the senior squad, they will already have those values implemented in them. So I'm very, very happy about this appointment. Like I said, also Gattuso will be working together with Montella to try and gel the two teams together, or at least make the transition as smooth as possible for the Primavera players going into the senior squad. Moving on, I wanted to speak about Musacchio, because earlier this week, as we all saw, Musacchio underwent his medicals in Milan, and his transfer should be made official very soon. I read that there were a bit of some complications, bureaucratic complications, but it's nothing to really take serious. Musacchio did complete his medicals, so he will be joining Milan officially. AC Milan has also posted videos of him actually attending the clinic and undergoing his medicals, so you could pretty much say it's a done deal. Moving on, I wanted to speak about Morata, because it appears to be that talks for him are intensifying, and right now there are contacts not only ongoing with Real Madrid, but also with the player himself. And the player is actually discussing with various parties that could eventually help him make that decision of either joining Milan or not. So he's asking around his friends, his relatives. He wants to know more information of what he's actually getting himself into at the moment. So, definitely it's something that every player should do. You shouldn't just join the team just for the sake of it. You should know what you're doing at the club, your objectives, the team's objectives for you, and all of that sort. Now, like I said before, the chances of him actually joining Milan seem to be increasing. However, the price tag is still pretty hefty, and right now it's about 60 to 80 million euros, somewhere in between there. We don't exactly know what price Real Madrid will be willing to, let him go. But talks are ongoing, like I said, and in terms of the player's contract, it seems that Milan are going to offer him a 5-year deal worth anywhere between 7.5 to 8 million euros. So it's a pretty good amount of money, like you would expect for a guy like Morata. I wouldn't personally call his a possible move to Milan a downgrade, but at the same time, you have to consider that this guy was playing in Real Madrid. He's gonna score goals for you. He's gonna be a very good striker for you, and that is why his wages are pretty high. The other man that we've been speaking about for the past few weeks, of course, is Aubameyang. And even though his agent has been saying that, he has denied talks with the Chinese clubs and PSG, still, it's pretty big price tag. I mean, it's not that far off from what Real Madrid want for Morata. But right now, in terms of wages, Morata seems the more reasonable option because let's not forget, um, Aubameyang wants double numbers, double digits in his wages. So he wants about 11 to 12 million from what I remember. It's a price that maybe him and his agent are willing to lower. But at the moment, it really seems like Milan are pushing for Morata more than anything else. So it's either him or Aubameyang. Those seem to be the very top of the line candidates at the moment for the striker position. But there's also another interesting talk or discussion that I've read in certain reports, and that is that Milan is looking for a backup option to this mysterious new striker purchase, and it seems like Milan will definitely be going for something younger for this backup option, and the names that are coming up are Simeone from Genoa, in which we have been speaking about for a very long time now, Schick from Sampdoria, and of course Dembele from Celtic. If I had to pick out of those three, I would probably go for Dembele. Yeah, he has shown very good things for Celtic. He's been scoring a lot of goals for them. But let's not forget also what Schick has done in this season for Sampdoria. He scored quite a good number of goals for a team that has been struggling, that hasn't always had it very easy in the Serie A. So we have to consider, a guy that has also experience in the Serie A. Not that much of it, but at least he has gotten some sort of experience in it. And that is why, I think Schick would also be a good option to have as a backup to this potential new striker. I would personally pick Dembele, like I said before, but I think both options are quite good. Moving on, we'll be talking about the midfield now because it seems to be that Mirabelli and Fassone are very, very interested in Lyon's midfielder Tolisso. Now, the 22-year-old scored 14 goals and added 7 assists in all competitions this season. It was a very hard season though for Lyon and Tolisso because they did participate in a lot of competitions. They were playing in the Europa League, then they went to the they were playing the Champions League, then they went to the Europa League. I guess because they finished in the 3rd place. And then, of course, with the League Cup, the league itself. So they really had a lot of games played this season. And Tolisso seems to be one of these options for the midfield in which Mirabelli and Fassone are actually considering. A very young option. I think he could do very good things. Like you could see from his numbers, he has scored a lot of goals. He has provided assists. And we need young blood in that midfield. I'm not saying that we're not getting any at the moment with Locatelli, but I think this guy could potentially be better. That is why, if we could actually go after him and sign him, then that would be amazing. In terms of the price tag, from what I read, he's valued to be around 35 to 40 million euros, and he still has a contract with Lyon until 2020, and that is why, his price tag is still pretty high. But given the fact that he's young, he's scoring goals, and he's playing for a pretty good club like Lyon, he cannot go for anything less than that. Let me know in the comment section if you guys would actually be interested in signing Tolisso or not. Now, finally, I did want to speak about Andrea Conti because obviously he's one of those guys that Milan has been very, very interested in as well. And this is another young option. So it seems like Milan is also going for the young and experienced options at the moment, not necessarily old. But the Conti is such a great player. Like I mentioned last week for Atalanta, he did great things for them this season. And I think, scoring that many goals as a right back, yes, he could also play as a right midfielder, but scoring that many goals, being Italian, being young, definitely, there's a flashlight, there's a light bulb that just lights up every time you see those types of things. And nowadays, it's not very common to find a young Italian right back that is so proficient in the Serie A. So, I will personally go for him. Like I said last week, I think he will be an amazing player to have, even as a starter. Abate Yes, he's still more experienced than Conti, obviously. But to me, he hasn't really cut it in these past few seasons, whereas Conti has demonstrated very good things. In terms of the offer that Milan is currently giving Atalanta, they're giving him a 15 million euro offer plus bonuses, but Atalanta want even more money, and it appears to be that talks will be continuing next week to try and finalize this potential deal. So that's pretty much it for the names that I think were the most interesting to talk about this week. Lots of names out there, lots of ongoing talks at the moment. Agents coming in, Milan discussing with different teams and agents exactly what their intentions are for the summer. But let me know in the comments section what you guys think about these players. Who do you guys think will be the next signing for Milan? Of course, Musacchio is already in the books pretty much. Kessie and Rodriguez should be following him. But now we want to know who's going to be the next signing. Is it going to be the striker? Is it going to be the backup striker? Of course, lots of names were mentioned, so I want to know your exact thoughts on this. So let's get into the comment section. Let's see what you guys have to say here. Milan Fever says, what do you think about Milan threatening to put Donnarumma on the bench next season if he doesn't sign a new contract? Personally, I think that is a big bullshit story, because why would Milan even think of threatening Donnarumma? I don't think they have the intentions of threatening their potential, well, actually, I should say their next big thing, because that's what Donnarumma is. You know, the newspapers, guys, you have to understand that they're gonna write any story whatsoever just to, not sell their paper, but to make their readers interested in the story. And I could go out there and write, honestly, Messi to join Milan tomorrow, and mark my words, people will still read it just because the title is interesting itself. And unfortunately, that's the truth of clickbaiting, or even, putting false reports out there just to gain views or looks. Unfortunately, that's the reality of journalism, guys. So every story that you read out there, just because you read it, doesn't mean it's necessarily true. And I think that's the exact case with Milan threatening Donnarumma. I think it's absolutely bullshit. Raiola as well said that people that are actually saying that, it's people that want to start a war between himself and Milan. Personally, like I said, I don't believe it. Yes, these talks are a bit delayed because we have been waiting and waiting and waiting for this Donnarumma contract renewal to take place. And yet again, we are still unsure of when it's actually going to happen. But I still have faith in this. I think that, sooner or later, this signature will arrive. This contract will be formulated. We just have to be patient, honestly. Moving on, Giuliano Lapadula says, Gio Morata is, in my opinion, the #1 striker, but would you be happy with only Dembele? I would be, but I think Morata should rather join Milan. Personally, I wouldn't be happy with only Dembele for a few various reasons. Let's not forget that we will be, of course, participating on 3 fronts next season. Most likely, we still have to qualify to the Europa League, obviously. But we will be playing in those qualifiers, we will be playing in the Serie A, and we will be playing in the Coppa Italia. Let's not forget, Baca will most likely leave. I'm 95% sure. There were also talks during the week of Lapadula possibly leaving and joining another club. So Lapadula's future is not even certain at Milan. And to just have Dembele there, I personally don't see it. Dembele would be a good backup option. He's still young. For him to come into Milan and be the primary star, the guy that scores goals, the guy that, is going to win Milan games all the time, I personally don't see it. He's going to be a good backup option to have, don't get me wrong, but I think we need a guy like Morata or Aubameyang to join the team. Guys with experience, guys that have scored and proven themselves time and time again in their respective clubs of what they could do in these teams. So we have to obviously have a primary striker, a guy that is a big name out there, and of course we'll have a guy like Dembele as a backup option that is a very good backup option and not just a decent guy. Super Kaka 22 says, I think Milan should complete their midfield and defense before we play the Europa League qualifiers. Apart from needing just a top striker, we also need a world-class left winger. And I completely agree with your comment there, Super Kaka, for various reasons. First of all, let's not forget that Fasone did mention that 2/3 of the squad will be completed already and will be signed in terms of transfers by the beginning of July, and that's exactly when the transfer window actually takes place and starts. So that is already very good news. Let's not forget that the European qualifiers will be taking place at the end of July, so we still have quite a bit of time to actually make signings in that month of July. But I fully agree with you. You know, I said it last week, and I think it is very important for Milan to get those missing pieces from the get-go, from the beginning of the transfer window, just to have them gel together, to build chemistry, to know each other inside out, to be ready for these qualifiers, and of course for the start of the Serie A season. Because oftentimes, like we have seen in the previous years, Milan unfortunately has made signings way too late in the transfer windows, and I'm not saying that it took a necessarily, big impact on the players' performances. They weren't able to connect with each other. But when you got a team with players that come in, you want them to have the full preseason to, gel together and get to know each other. You don't want them to just throw them in cold, like a cold turkey, and not being able to do anything with them, or they're just not used to the team's tactics or so forth. That's pretty much my take on when the signings should be made and why they should be made in that sense. Some more questions. Milan Fever says Deulofeu is leaving 100%. He's not even in the squad for tomorrow. Unfortunately, yes, that is true. I've also read rumors of that Deulofeu will be returning to Everton or Barcelona. I'm still not sure who there, but yeah, he will not be staying with Milan. Once again, I'll be forever grateful to Deulofeu because he was a guy that came in, and honestly speaking, he didn't even have to do that much for the status that he had. He's a player that came in and, there were no guarantees that he was going to stay at Milan. There were no guarantees that he had to play every match because, this all happened after Bonaventura got injured. But the guy came in with full determination, full will to help out the team and bring them to reach that objective. And he did such a great job. So I'll forever be grateful to Deulofeu. I'm very, very happy of the work that he's done in these 5 months at Milan. And, personally, I think that Deulofeu, whichever path he takes, those 5 months at Milan have pretty much revived him. So they were very helpful to him and the team as well. Darian says Tolisso can be a replacement for Bonaventura in the midfield. Personally, I would keep Bonaventura in that midfield. A lot of people will be probably saying, yes, we have seen Bonaventura playing as a left winger. He's capable of playing as a left winger. But personally, I would prefer to have Bonaventura in the midfield to support a very good left winger. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we have Bonaventura and a left winger pairing up together, creating that partnership, moving on forward, creating chances, just imagine how deadly that left side could be. So, hopefully, Bonaventura is definitely going to be playing on the left mid role, in my opinion, next season. By the way, he has been called up for tomorrow's match, which is very exciting, but I still don't think that he will be playing. So, yeah, I think all we really need is a very solid left winger, because now that Deulofeu is leaving, we're going to need one guaranteed. And the main names out there, of course, are Keita Balde. So we'll see exactly what happens there. But just to have Keita Balde and Bonaventura playing there on the same side, I think that would be really, really good. Laura says, Gio, don't you think that we shouldn't spend 60 million on the striker? our midfield is still piss poor. Morata won't score goals without a midfield behind him. Well, we definitely need to invest in the midfield. I think that is the primary place in which we should invest and reinforce. But let's not forget, we will also be selling guys like Baka. Even though we won't be getting 30 million for him, you know, we're still going to be getting a pretty decent amount. I've also read reports in which we might be selling Niang for 16 to 18 million. So this is extra revenue that we might get to even purchase a guy that is worth 60 to 70 million. So I don't think it's money that's poorly spent. I think that it's money in which we need to invest in order to have proper players at our club. Just a few more questions here before I do sign off. Antonio says, I'm so excited that Bonaventura will be back in the bench tomorrow. Y says, I hope Bonaventura returns to his best before his injury. I think he will. He's a champion. He has been training very hard in these months in which he's been injured. So I'm very, very optimistic that he will return to that form. Santino says, you're a great bro. Keep going. Thank you so much, Santino. Thank you for tuning in. Christy, Gio Milan offered Lazio 40 million for Biglia and Keita, but Lazio wanted Bonaventura. Milan said no. What would you do? Personally, I wouldn't give Bonaventura away for 40 million for those two players. So this is pretty much saying 40 million plus Bonaventura for Biglia and Keita. To be honest with you, Biglia is not the worst of players. He's decent, but let's not forget he's already 31. And to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure what certainties he could give to that Milan midfield. He's definitely not a bad option, but I would want something more, something much more valuable. Keita Balde, yes, I mean, I want him, but I would prefer just to pay the price that he is worth instead of giving away Bonaventura. Like I said, if we could formulate some sort of partnership between Bonaventura and Keita Balde, I'll be even happier, to be honest with you. One more question before I sign off. RK Gosh says, don't you think Cutrone should start tomorrow? I will be speaking about the match. Actually, I'll be doing a match preview in about an hour and a half. So I'll be speaking about the lineups and all of that in that next video. So hold on to those questions. Electrical Drift says, is it true that De Sciglio said that he will leave Milan if they buy a new left back? Well, to be honest with you, what's the point of him staying at Milan if they do buy a new left back? And chances are that Ricardo Rodriguez is coming in. And De Sciglio, to be honest with you, will be leaving. I also think maybe either him or Vangioni will definitely leave. I think we should keep Antonelli, to be honest with you. Because Antonelli, even though he might not be getting as much playing time as he did, I think he's definitely a very good backup option to have. So I would possibly have Ricardo Rodriguez and Antonelli for that left side role. And on the right, Conti and Abate would be good. Also, Calabria as a backup would be amazing. Let me know your thoughts on that, guys. Last comment here. Jamie says, do you like this for next season? Gigio in net, Romagnoli, Musacchio, and Rodriguez in the defense. Kessie, Tolisso, and Locatelli in the midfield with Suso on the right and Kate on the left with Dembele and Morata. Now, this is a very good lineup, but it's probably a lineup that you would see on FIFA, to be honest, because there are a lot of players that should be starters in your lineup there. But personally, I don't think Milan will be going forward with a 3-5-2. It is a very interesting lineup, I'm not gonna lie. It's very, very cool. But I personally don't think that it's a very feasible lineup. But it's very interesting. I really like how you placed everyone in that lineup. Alright guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this AC Milan news recap. Like I said before, I'll be making one a week, mostly towards the weekend, to recap exactly all the news that have been going on. Instead, maybe if like something big really happens, like a signing is made, I'll probably make the video the same day of. But besides that, I think that I will be focusing on making these recaps once a week. There are some commitments that I will be getting myself into in the next couple of weeks, and honestly speaking, it's gonna be tough to make daily videos. It's really gonna be tough. I'm not gonna have much time. I'm gonna be telling you guys this as of now, so you guys know already in advance. I will be keeping Rossoneri TV alive, that's for sure. But my time will be severely restricted, so I gotta make the most out of it, and I need to, keep the channel alive by posting at least once or twice weekly. But stay tuned, because in an hour and a half I will be having the match preview for the last Serie A game of the season between Cagliari and Milan. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with everything going on at the club, and please like the video if you did enjoy it. I'll be seeing you guys soon. This has been Gio signing off, and as always, Forza Milan.